Hi, I'm Kelly Hawley, founder of Warrior Bride Ministries, where we do biblical healing and restoration for childhood exploitation. At Warrior Bride Ministries, we have created a place and continue to see it expand, where the survivor of childhood exploitation can come and find people who accept them and give them all kinds of various services free of cost. So we're making a community for the survivors. Many of you have heard some of the stories that the Lord is starting to shine a light on in terms of just really horrendous things. I started serving the sexually abused about 20 years ago. And back then, you couldn't really even talk about sexual abuse, the more common type. People didn't know about it, they didn't want to hear about it. And so that was a challenge in itself. But now that's almost commonplace, unfortunately. But as things have progressed over the last 20 years, we're now starting to see a light shined on some of the more horrendous, some that the trauma has caused dissociative identity disorder, or what many know as multiple personalities. And that's really when somebody has gone through such trauma that the Lord has put a mechanism in there that that part that experiences the trauma, let's say it's at age 2 or 4 or various ages, it can break off the psyche and go behind an amnesic wall and stay there in kind of arrested state until it's time to heal that part, until they're ready, until the Lord's ready, and they walk through healing in that. Now that's kind of a more quote unquote natural trauma. But what we're seeing today being exposed is one in which the enemy has hijacked that system, and they are purposely traumatizing the children, even in the womb, to purposely fragment them. And in doing that, they are training those parts, they're manipulating those parts, they're lying to those parts, and they are using those parts. So it has become modern day slavery. Um, and this can happen in kind of a ritual abuse way, in terms of groups, covens, families that worship the Antichrist, and they have ways that they worship them. They're always kind of a mocking of the way a Christian would, but much, much more horrendous. Many of us could never even think up the things that most of us could, hopefully, could not even think up the things that they do. But in this ritual abuse, they purposely are creating these different parts to use them for various things. They'll do testing on them in which they see what their natural gifts are. And then whatever that is, they'll develop it. Now, that's for the lucky ones. The ones that aren't so lucky, they will be ritually, there'll be a sacrifice, or they won't make it for various scenarios. And then you can continue down what I call the trauma spectrum. So what I've been talking about, let's say it started on the far left of the trauma spectrum with the more common sexual abuse, say with a coach or stepfather or something like that. And then you start to go down to the middle, and that might be where the trauma was so severe because they were sadistic or something really, horrendous, and they became fragmented. And then you keep going to the right end of the spectrum, and the next thing you would have was the ritual abuse. And finally, towards the end of the spectrum, you start to get into what we call mind control. And with that, it kind of includes everything prior on the spectrum, but it also includes more of a scientific bent to it as well, where you start to get into laboratories and medical experimentation, all in the name of the Antichrist, all to build the army for the end times. And we could get very deep into that. It just depends on how deep you want to go. But the Lord is calling the body. He is calling those that have not chosen yet to choose this day who you will serve. But He is calling us to rise up and to prepare ourselves so that we can help others, and we can also be ready ourselves. And there are, it is a complicated thing, but with Him, He makes it easier. I have been ministering to the ritually abused and the mind control survivor for about 10 years now. It was about the beginning when I first realized, okay, something different is going on here. I started getting people from all over with similar crazy stories. But after you hear it from enough people, at what point are you going to believe them? And plus, you can tell when somebody's lying and when it's authentic, because they're just not that good of actors. So about 10 years ago, when I first really felt the Lord say, okay, you've got to learn how to deal with this, I found somebody named Kay Tolman, who was a ritual abuse survivor. And I started with going to some of her training. And it was very, interesting. It was like drinking from a fire hose. But I learned in the beginning, it was a little slower start. I was still in corporate America. I was serving on weekends and things of that sort, but I was very much in corporate America. But he eventually moved me out of corporate America. And for the last 7 years, I'd say, I've been doing it pretty full time. Definitely the last 7 years I've been doing full time, but there was maybe a transition in there. And in that, I have seen things that I never thought. You just can't think these things up, really. But what's going on is we are, in the beginning of the war, and what happens at our office and online. When survivors come, we help them. We work with Yeshua as he redeems them, as he redeems whole bloodlines. And he does have a plan. Many people have lost faith and believe that, he doesn't exist, or he's weak, or he doesn't have a plan, or he's just letting all these things happen. But the truth is, the enemy is a legalist, and he has hijacked the system and used a lot of legalities to have the authority, because the children are under the authority of either the parents, or maybe the authority has been given over to the school system, or the authority to certain homes, or different things. So that authority allows them to dictate what's going on with the child until the child is older and they can stand up and make their own decision, and then they can break all the contracts and things that the authorities over them have made for them. And then there's a whole process of deprogramming that what we've done at Warrior Bride is we not only give them individual services in terms of individual appointments free of charge. We do about, I think it's around 1,000 hours a year, no cost. And that is with me going nonstop. And there's a waiting list. We need, the harvest is great and the workers are few. We also have about 10 classes with different teachers, different people leading it, in which they can learn everything from boundaries, attachment theories, discipleship, identity in Christ, internal family systems, journey to freedom, just reading of the scriptures, just a variety of things. Men's group. We do whole families, and we have whole families that come in that have been subjected to this. So, he is moving, he is working and growing. We do have a wellness. We try to look at mind, body, spirit, soul as the Lord provides, as the volunteers come and step up. We plug them in after a evaluation or a background check, and just trying to get to know them before we allow them to have hands-on with the survivors. But there's other ways that they can start as we get to know them and know that they're safe for the survivors, and then eventually lead into, whatever their calling is, because this takes the whole body of Christ. I mean, there's everything from prayer to administration, to wellness, to teaching, to just being a friend. We do community events, community activities. We just went to a picnic at the beach recently, the Lake Beach, because we're in Georgia. We go to the museum, just, whatever it is, it's kind of that season, whatever we can find. We do those at least once a month so that they have community. We do also do a annual conference. This will be our 5th annual conference coming up September 12th through 14th. It's called Counting the Cost, because there is a cost, and the scriptures tell us to count the cost. And so that's what that's what the Lord gave me 5 years ago. So we've kept it, counting the cost, but then there's a theme under the counting the cost. And this year is the gates of hell will not prevail. Last year it was the clashing of realms, but this year it's the gates of hell will not prevail. We're going to have wonderful speakers. Every year we have wonderful speakers. We kind of try to get new people each time. There's some continuity, but also new people to join in so that we can foster that unity in the body of Christ. So this year we have Nathan Reynolds, which some of you might know. He has been on the podcast and YouTube a decent amount recently. He wrote a book called Snatched from the Flames, and he was on the farther right end of the spectrum, and so he was a survivor of the mind control. He was programmed and trained to be an assassin. So he's got a lot of stories there. Greg Reed has also written several books, and he will tell his story. And then J.R. Sweet, also survivor, will tell his story. So we have a lot of survivors, but we have a lot of healers too. Like, for instance, myself, I'm a survivor of the left side of the spectrum, not the right side. And I will be there teaching more on the healing part. And Pamela Grisham, she also is a healer, so she'll be there teaching about internal family systems. And Samuel, who works with Amanda Bays, which some of you might know, she's well known in the healing community. He's from South Africa. He will be doing a teaching on, I think, generational curses. So we have, and we have others, and we're also going to, have some fun, because this is heavy work, but it's important for us to have joy and to have fun as well, and to show the survivors that there is fun in this world, because right now this world has not shown the survivors fun. So we will be doing baptisms and worship on the beach. And then we will have a oceanfront dinner, which will be really nice. And then we'll also be doing a bonfire on the beach one night with s'mores and stuff like that. And so, some fun mixed in with some really heavy topic and some solutions. We're not just sensationalizing this thing. We're about getting down to business. We're about getting to the root of this and dismantling what the enemy has built amongst our children, within our children. And there is a way, and it's through the true King of Kings, Yeshua, but he partners with man. And he is calling us to partner with him on this. And he has taught me and other healers a lot. And we need to implement it. And we are, but we need more. We need more. There's so many survivors. A lot of people might think that there's only just, a few of them or something like that, that this is more kind of backward alley, back in the woods kind of thing. But no, there are millions of survivors. And this is modern day slavery. And we have to understand what to do about this. I truly believe that we will stand in front of the Lord, and he will ask us what we did, like give account of what you did for these children in this slavery. And so it's a clarion call also to rise up and join us. We need, with not charging for anything for the survivors. The only thing we charge for is the conference, of course, and some trainings, but not for the survivors. So with that business model, that's not a great business model. So we have to trust in the Lord, because we need people, we need sponsors, we need donors. But you know what? He makes a way. We are, on a wing and a prayer, but we've been going strong as Warrior Bride Ministries officially for 5.5 years. And, we don't miss a beat. We definitely need more staff. We need housing for the survivors while they go through the healing. But until that's provided, then we just do the best we can. We do have an office. We do have one appointment after another. We do intensives where people come from all around the country for like 4-hour sessions. We do online services as well as in person, and the online goes throughout the world. So we help survivors throughout the world. And we're in the middle of writing a book, and not just any old book, but a book that will have training in it. So it will be a manual. So the people that come behind people like myself, it will aid them in knowing what to do versus having to figure it out. So it will be a tool for them. And so that we are in the middle of doing that as well. This year, we also did our first annual training retreat. So that went really well. Again, I think we had some really good information that we shared, and we also had good time in uniting. So that was fun as well. So we're continuously growing, building that army and seeing victories. That's the incredible thing. Like, it would be much harder if we didn't see the victory, but we see him move every day, multiple times a day, when we step out in faith and take on this army of darkness that he has created and is full functioning. I mean, there's going to come a time where it kind of climax and the Antichrist will come. And quite honestly, there's put some of the parts that are within them have been trained for that moment. And they'll be children, and they'll believe that that he is their father, because no father ever stood up for them, and that's all they want is a real mother and a real father. And so he will be able to manipulate that, and they will rise up. They will be children in a human body, believing that that's their true father, and do whatever he wants. So that might be a lot for you to take in, but it's time to face the facts. And so that is what I am hoping to do, is just share truth. And I know that some won't be able to receive it right now, but some will. And some, it might just be a seed that is planted. For some, it might be watered for watering to that seed. And some, it will be a harvest. And you will feel something rise up in you, and you will want to get involved, and you will help set the captives free. So for those who are ready, I want you to know that we welcome you, and that if you would go to www.warriorbrideministeries.com or .org, you will find just about everything there. You'll find the conference, you'll find training, you'll find some of the classes, you'll find book an appointment, all kinds of stuff there. You'll find previous podcasts, some of them. I don't have them all uploaded, but some of them. So go to our website, check it out. Newsletter you can sign up for. And I hope to meet you all. I hope that we can unite and walk into this victory together. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me, Kelly Hawley, 470-563-1971. And it's Kelly, Kelly .Hawley, HAWLEY @WBMGA.org. God bless.